Hi, I'm Vanessa. Welcome back to the Solena Global Living Podcast, where we share real stories, real estate, and the realities of life abroad. Valencia continues to be one of the most popular cities for foreigners looking to start a new life in Spain. And there's good reason for that. It's a very livable city. There's excellent public transportation, and it's rated as one of the greenest cities in Europe. Whether you're looking for a lively, neighborhood with lots of bars and restaurants, or you're looking for something a little more chill with a little more space, Valencia has something for almost everyone. Today, I'm speaking to David. David is an American real estate agent who moved to Valencia with his husband a couple of years ago, and he now helps English speakers find their place in the city. Whether you're looking to buy or rent, David can help you find your place. And in this interview, we talk about some of the best neighborhoods to consider, what's different and surprising about the real estate process here versus in the United States, including what to expect when you're going to rent or buy. And we talk about some of the cultural considerations that you should keep in mind when deciding where to live in Valencia. Without further ado, let's dig in to the interview. All right. Hey, David, thanks for meeting with me today.
You're welcome, Vanessa. How are you?
I'm good. So, you sold real estate in the United States and then you found your way to Valencia. What brought you to Valencia in the first place and what motivated you to start selling real estate there?
So I sold real estate in the US for 30 years. And then I kind of went into retirement in 2022. And there was just a series of events with positive events with house sales and just all these doors opening. Um, that it made it possible for us to come here. For example, we didn't need a visa because my husband has Italian citizenship. So we can live anywhere in the European Union. So we didn't have to worry about any of that stuff. It was time. Things were changing in the US, not for the best. This was over close to 4 years ago. So we just wanted to get out before things got worse.
Fair enough.
So came to Valencia in March of 2023. To be honest with you, I had no intention of going back into real estate. I was a bit tired after doing it for 30 years. But then after 6 months, I got a little bored, not having anything to do. And real estate's the only thing I've ever done. So it was logical that I got back into it.
What surprised you as an American real estate agent with the rental and the sales market in Valencia?
As I explained to all my clients, real estate in Spain is the complete opposite of what an American client has probably been used to in the US. For example, there are no licensing requirements, so anybody could be a real estate agent with or without experience. There's no National Association of Realtors that overlooks all the realtors in the country and says, these are the rules. If you don't abide by the rules, these are the consequences. So every agent kind of does their own thing and there's no accountability. There's no multiple listing service. So like in the US, every single agent puts every single property in the multiple listing service. And there's 100% collaboration, meaning I can show any property in the US, well, in my market in the US, regardless of who has it for sale. And here, a lot of agents don't like to collaborate with other agents. And it's mostly because, in my experience or in my opinion, a lot of them don't have exclusive listings with the seller or with the landlord. So you'll often see in websites like Idealista, the same property advertised 4, 5, 6 times with different agencies. The seller doesn't want to sign an exclusivity. And so basically whoever sells it gets paid first. So the agent tries to hold on to it and not share because then they'll have to split the commission. So those were the biggest shocks to me when I came over here.
Yeah, it's a totally different world. And Valencia is even more unique in that commissions are paid differently. Do you want to explain how that works?
Yeah. So for those listening from the US, in the US, for example, the seller pays both the seller's agent and the buyer's agent. The buyer never pays any commission as of right now. In Valencia, and this only applies in the province of Valencia, this does not apply to the rest of Spain. Buyers are responsible for paying their buyer's agent the commission. So whatever is agreed upon. they're responsible for paying the buyer's agent. The seller has their own arrangement with the listing agent. Sometimes there's a blurry line, and the seller's agent will say, well, you can show my property, but I want half of your commission. That happened today on a $900,000 property I was trying to schedule. She said, I want half of your commission. So the same thing applies with leasing. There's a law on the books in Spain that nobody abides by. Leasing agents on long-term apartments, so anything more than 11 months, they're not allowed to, they're not supposed to charge a commission to the renters. And I'm here to tell you that 99% of them still charge commission to the renters. It's supposed to be paid by the landlord. That's a law. But as I said earlier, there's nobody overseeing this and nobody holding them accountable. So these agents know they can get away with it. They know that the demand is really high in Valencia for a rental and the supply doesn't keep up with it. And people are desperate to find rentals and they can get away with charging the tenant. On the short-term lease, anything less than 11 months, there is no law on the books. 100% of the time, the leasing agent will charge the renter commission. I don't work with landlords. I only work with renters. And I only work with buyers. I don't work with sellers. When it comes to leasing, it's really frustrating, but there's nothing I can do about it. It's just the way the market is. And the realtors know that if my client doesn't want to pay it, there's someone right behind them who's willing to pay for it.
Right. So it's a pretty competitive market and it moves fairly quickly, right?
Fiercely competitive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's take a step back and just when somebody's coming to Valencia and they're thinking about where they want to live, can you kind of explain how the city and the surrounding areas are laid out and what their kind of general options are for living in Valencia?
Yeah. So obviously, to the east of Valencia is the Mediterranean, so you can't really go east. Going along the coastline north and south, well, starting south, going south of Valencia, there's Albufera Park, which is a huge, what do you call it, parkland or whatever. So there's not a lot of housing there. So outside of the city limits, you're going to go west and northwest and north. But inside Valencia city limits, the city is divided up into 19 different neighborhoods. And Valencia is an extremely walkable city. It's not very spread out like Madrid, for example. In Valencia, you could walk like 75% of the city within 30 to 45 minutes. It's not going to take you a half a day or a couple hours to walk from the north side to the south side, for example. Turia Park runs across the top of the city. Turia Park was Turia River, which they diverted and eliminated the flood plain or flood issue and converted into, I think it's 9 kilometers from east to west into a park. So the city center, like I said, you can walk pretty much anywhere except for the beach area. That does take a little bit longer to get to, but Valencia is super, super walkable. If somebody wants to live in the suburbs, it's either because they want a house as opposed to high density living, or they have children, and they, are selecting a private or international school outside of the city limits. For the most part, all of our business, for the most part, is within the city limits or up to 30 minutes west and north.
And do you need a car if you live in Valencia?
Inside the city limits, you really don't need a car.
You probably don't want a car either.
It's very, very hard to find parking. So I've lived here for 2.5 years and we don't have a car. The public transportation is exceptional. There's metro train lines everywhere. There's bus stops everywhere. There's bike lanes everywhere. So a lot of people bike or walk. But you truly don't need a car inside the city limits. If you're going to go out to the suburbs, depending upon which suburb, some of them are connected by metro, but depending upon which suburb, you probably would need a car.
Is it possible to live in a house and be close enough to public transportation that you don't need a car?
Yeah. I sold 2 villas in a suburb called Liliana. Liliana is about 20 minutes northwest of the city center, but there are 4 metro stops in Liliana. So these 2 buyers, they can walk for no more than 10 minutes to the metro get on a metro line and be in the city within 30 minutes.
Okay, perfect. So let's go back into the city center and talk about some of the more popular neighborhoods. El Carmen, Benny Clemet. Can you talk about some of your favorite areas and what the vibe or the feel is in each of them?
Sure. I can tell you what most of our buyers and most of our renters are going after. So, for example, I live in Petrikes. Petrikes is roughly 25-minute walk southwest of the city center. And Petrikes was its own city. It was not incorporated into Valencia until like I think I don't know, 50 years ago. So it's a fully functioning city, has its own hospitals and medical offices and pharmacies and anything and everything that you possibly need. It is a very traditional Spanish neighborhood. You're not going to find a lot of English speaking people that live in my neighborhood. North of Petrikes is a neighborhood called Arancapins. Arancapins is a little bit closer to the city center, also very much a family oriented neighborhood. It's full of restaurants. The dining there is exceptional. There's a very famous architectural icon, if you will, called the Finca Roja in Arancapins, a red clay colored building that they don't have exterior balconies, but in the interior of the building, and it's huge. It takes up a, a whole entire city block on each side. But in the center is this huge, huge courtyard, palm trees and benches and a little playground for the kids. So that's Arancapins. Going east is probably the most famous neighborhood that, well, I should say famous. The one that I get asked about the most is Rusafa.
Hmm.
Rusafa is kind of like a Brooklyn in New York City. It's where all the young people go to the bars and to have a good time. There's tons and tons of restaurants, tons of shops. It's very charming, but it's very touristy. So if you live there, you're going to have to deal with late night people out on the streets. And the real estate is more expensive. So you're going to probably get half of what you could get elsewhere or pay double to get the same property elsewhere. Then once you get into the city center, there's, like you said, El Carmen or Ciudad Bella. That's where the streets get narrower. A lot of the streets don't allow cars. That's where you'll see a lot of the traditional historic Spanish architecture on the buildings. But again, you're going to deal with a lot of tourists. So if you want something that's quieter, for example, you probably don't want to live there. And it's extremely close to Turia Park that I mentioned earlier. And then there's Cabinal, which is the beach on the east side. Cabinal has been neglected over the years, but Valencia has set aside funds to revitalize the neighborhood. So from an investment perspective, it would be a good investment for somebody who's purchasing, not necessarily renting, but for somebody who wanted to purchase. Once they revitalize the neighborhood, the prices are going to go up just like Rusafa did.
I think I've been to that area and it struck me as more of a summer vacation rental and kind of abandoned-ish
Yes.
feeling place.
Yes. Yeah, it's for people if somebody wants to be near the beach or on the beach. For example, today I showed a property that was one street in from the beach. Beautiful property. This one was completely renovated, so it wasn't run down. But yes, for somebody or seasonal living, if somebody just wants to be there during, the summer months.
Right. Well, it'll be really interesting to see that get revitalized because there's definitely an
Yeah.
opportunity there. So
Yeah.
close to everything, and with so many people moving to the city who don't need to be commuting into the city, who work remotely or are semi-retired, it's an interesting area for sure.
Yeah.
So let's talk pricing. Let's talk rental pricing first. In some of the neighborhoods you talked about, let's say like a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, updated, not super high end, but an international person would say, "Oh, this feels comfortable. I'd feel comfortable living here." What range are we talking about?
You're going to be talking about anywhere from 1,600 euros to 2,200 euros. Those are going to be 2 bedrooms to 3 bedrooms. There were a couple that we recently leased that were actually 4 bedrooms at 2,200. So most of the properties, most of our clients are American, and every single client from America is looking for the exact same thing. Um, and that
You're so
is
original.
that is modern, renovated, bright. So most of them don't want to have a project on their hands. Some will look for something that has a little bit more architectural appeal, like the original ceramic tile floors and the intricate molding on the ceilings and the walls. But everybody else, for the most part, is looking for the same things. The ones that we've leased this year, all of them, except for one, fit that description that I just said. Completely renovated, modern, and they were, let's just say, 18 to 2,200 a month.
Okay. And how long did it take to nail that down with the speed of the market and that being such a popular profile? How hard was it to find those listings?
They're not hard. You have to act quickly. So, having been here for 2.5 years and knowing what kind of market it is, every time I have a consultation phone call with a client, 99% of them are still in the US or England or Bulgaria. They're not here. I tell them exactly how competitive it is here and how difficult it is to get Spanish landlords to approve a non-Spanish tenant. So when the client sees something that I send them that checks all their boxes and that they absolutely love, it's been our experience, and it's not anything that we're forcing them to do, but in our experience, they end up grabbing the very first apartment we show them because it's super, super competitive. And because of all the properties I send them, several get eliminated for one reason or another. So they're
Right.
only left with maybe three to choose from. And if it checks all their boxes, they 9 times out of 10 jump on it.
Yeah. And are they typically doing 11-month leases or are these long-term rentals?
11-month or more is considered long term. 11 months or less is, I should say, less than 11 months is short term. So I would say that 60%, 75% of our clients do long term.
Okay. And are you able to find long-term rentals that are furnished or are those pricing for long-term rentals unfurnished?
Most of
Most are
them are
furnished.
furnished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen a big uptick in beautifully furnished turnkey rentals that used to be Airbnbs?
The one I showed today on the beach.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
this is a
This one.
great time to come. Like there are some incredible
Yeah.
properties suddenly on the
I can
market
send you,
long term.
I took a recording. I can send it to you later.
Yeah.
It's really a spectacular property.
Yeah, I've noticed. I was doing some pricing comparison in Madrid and you could just tell these places were unlicensed Airbnbs. Done,
Yeah.
done, done, gorgeous, so amazing. And now suddenly available long term. A
Right.
year ago, there's no way that property was ever going to be rented long term. So this is a prime time to find a turnkey rental in some of
Huh?
these big cities, right?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about family homes closer to the international schools. If somebody wants to come and have a 3 to 4 bedroom house with a little bit of a yard, close to the international schools, easy access to the city, what areas are they looking in, and what pricing should they expect
Pricing for leasing or purchasing?
to purchase?
To purchase. Okay. If somebody wants to live outside of the city limits in the suburbs, for example, they're mostly going to be looking northwest in La Liana, Godella, La Cañada, or going a little bit north, they're going to be in Rocafort, Pucal. Those each have their own individual private and international schools that seem to attract American buyers with children. So those are going to be anywhere from 15-minute to, let's just say, worst case scenario, 30 minutes out by car.
So it's
And the
still really close to the
prices,
city. I mean,
oh yeah, the prices really vary. It just depends. Are they looking for a detached single family home? Are they looking for an apartment? Are they looking for, you know, 4 bedrooms with a pool and a garage and a yard? So the prices are really going to vary. But to give you a number, a healthy budget is probably going to be 500,000 and up.
yeah. I mean, you can spend as much as you want, right?
Right.
If you want to spend 20 million, we can find you something.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
problem. But yeah, I'd say that sounds about right based on my research too. Between 500, maybe 850 or 900 if you're looking for something that's more modern, done, done, done,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are really beautiful areas. They're really green. It gets a little more hilly. Everything's a little bit more spaced out. It's very clean. Like at least the
Very
parts
clean.
that I've been, very well maintained, really nice urbanizations with amenities, right?
Right.
Tennis courts, golf courses, pools, all the things.
Hmm.
You're not sort of out in the wilderness in
No,
some weird
not at all.
urbanization.
No,
It's
no.
very much a suburb with
Suburb.
all of the amenities of a suburb, easy access to grocery stores, well-maintained roads, all of it,
Yep.
right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a really nice area. It actually it makes so much sense why so many people are drawn to Valencia.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some practical life things. So when somebody's coming to the city and they are trying to figure out where they should be, what are some of the questions you ask them to help them uncover part of the city is going to be the best fit for them?
Well, it all boils down to their lifestyle. If they're a young couple, they're probably not going to mind living in the touristy areas where they have easy access to restaurants and bars. If they're middle aged, they're, not going to want to be necessarily in a Rusafa. Are they going to have a car or no car? We already established that it's really not necessary to have a car. So, and what kind of an apartment are they seeking? Because inside of Valencia city limits, 99% of the properties are apartments, so flats. You're not going to find a detached single family home inside the city limits. You may occasionally find a townhome, but those rarely come up for sale. So it just depends on what is important to them. A lot of them to say they want to be close to parks. Well, Valencia has been voted the greenest city in Europe the last 2 years. So there's parks everywhere here. A lot of them will say that it's important that, they're close. There are some schools, private international schools within the city limits. So they'll say that they want to be close to the school. So I just ask, what kind of lifestyle, what's important to them, and basically just educate them that if you're going to live inside the city limits, you're going to be in a high density type living situation, apartments that are
Yeah.
so you won't have the privacy that you probably are accustomed to in the US.
Yeah, and I think this is such an interesting cultural difference because people in Spain live outside. They
Right,
meet up with people outside. It's not expensive to meet somebody at a bar for a tapa and a beer.
right.
So the way you use your house is different.
Well, that what you just said, and also because not the standard, the average Spanish apartment in Valencia is about 60 square meters, which is like 675 to 700 square feet. So
Tiny.
they're not very big. So to entertain in your home, they're just not going to do it. They would prefer to go out, like you said, for coffee or tapas.
Yeah. So you'll find, and the weather is fantastic in Valencia. You can be out
Valencia,
pretty much year
yeah,
round, right?
Valencia averages 300 days of sunshine per year. So it's very nice, except for August and late July, which is brutal. And the winters are mild. The winters, generally speaking, it doesn't get below 40 degrees
Hmm.
Fahrenheit.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is super livable. You can still
Yeah.
go out and walk and
Yeah.
meet up
There's
with
no
people. And
snow. There's no snow. There's no sub-zero temperatures. So
now,
it's very
one thing that
comfortable.
came up with somebody I was talking to whose dog has PTSD, somebody had PTSD, the fireworks. Can we talk about the fireworks in Valencia and what you need to know about them?
Okay. I will talk about that, but let me preface it by saying that this is our third year where we would have experienced fireworks because of a celebration in March. It's called Fallas. The first two, and that takes place in March. The first two Marches, we weren't here. So we didn't experience Fallas. This March, we were here. And Vanessa, I will tell you that I will never be here during Fallas ever again. We have a dog. The Valencian community, they celebrate almost everything with fireworks. Fallas is a celebration in March that originated when they were celebrating the patron saint of carpentry. That's what it started as. And all these carpenters would burn all of their leftover wood scrap. And over the years, it's progressed where they make these elaborate, I mean, like 4, 5, 6 story tall pieces of art that's paper mache and wood. And they celebrate with fireworks, not the kind necessarily that you see in the sky, but actual firecrackers,
Just noisemakers, basically,
just
right? Just
noisemakers.
boom, boom,
Yes.
boom, 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 boom.
Yes. And that goes on for 3 weeks consistently, nonstop. The children have these little firecrackers and they don't care where they throw them. So if you have a dog like we do, you have to really watch where you're going because a child will just throw a firecracker. So our dog as most dogs don't do well because of that. So next March, we're going to get an Airbnb outside and just avoid it. But it's nice to experience one time. So, but yes, they have fireworks um, at 2 o'clock. It's called Mascleta every day. And it sounds like you're in a war zone. It's 25 minutes away by foot from here. And when we hear it, it literally sounds like there's bombs being dropped on us. But that's how they celebrate.
Yeah, I
So
was there in May, and I don't remember what the thing was, but we're in that covered market that has all the different little restaurants in it somewhere in the center. I don't remember the name of it
Cologne
right now. Yeah.
or McDowell.
And, we're all eating and all of a sudden it sounded like we were under attack, right?
Yeah,
And it's so fascinating to see the foreigners versus the locals' reaction to something like that. Like I was in an earthquake in LA once, and just to watch humanity respond differently, the locals versus the foreigners, it was great. And so I think that's something you should be aware of. If you're really sensitive to noise or you have pets that are really sensitive, like this
absolutely.
is a thing you need to know about in Valencia. That doesn't
Yeah,
happen anywhere else as far as I know, at least not on that
I don't think so.
scale.
Not to
And it's
that
definitely,
scale.
yeah.
And the other thing that people have to be aware of is that so the celebration is called Fias, and there's Fias clubs all over the city. And these are clubs that consist of the people that represent that particular neighborhood and are responsible for creating that design that I was explaining. And so at the Fias Club, they will have parties. They'll put up, this is during Fias, they'll put up big white, like circus type tents where they have music blaring till 3, 4, 5 in the morning. So when it comes to real estate, if you're looking, well, whether you're looking to buy or rent, it's important to know where the Fias clubs are located because those will definitely be loud during the celebration in March.
Yeah, I'm glad we talked about this. And I think that's a really good point, no matter where you're looking in Spain, because all these areas have different festivals and they go late in Spain. So if you're moving in with a 6-month-old baby, or, you have special hours, or you really need your sleep, you really need to understand what is happening in your neighborhood and what festivals happen and how often they happen, because the Spanish know how to party.
They do.
They
Any
don't care that
excuse
you need a good night's sleep.
any excuse to have a party they're going to do. So yeah, there's all kinds of festivals, all kinds of parades, all kinds of celebrations all throughout the year, all over Valencia, as of also in Spain,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Good. I'm glad we got to talk about that. So, as we wrap up, what is your advice for somebody who is moving to the area and is still trying to figure out where their place is in the city?
What I always talk to everybody about while they're trying to figure out where they want to live, obviously I help them and guide them. But in addition to telling them the major differences between the real estate markets in the US, for example, and Spain, basically I tell them they have to be flexible, they have to be open-minded, and they have to be willing to act quickly. Again, keep in mind, most of my clients are in the United States. Most of my clients do not come here before we locate a property for them, whether it's purchasing or renting. So I always tell them, be flexible. Don't zero in on just one neighborhood because there's many. And be prepared to act when you find the one that you truly, truly love. And, we'll do virtual tours with them. We'll walk through the apartment live and I will point out all the negatives in addition to the positives. So I just basically encourage them to just be a little flexible. But the most important thing is the ability to act quickly. So with that, for rentals specifically, Spanish landlords are going to require all kinds of documentation and all kinds of proof of your financial solvency. So I encourage all of our clients to get all of the documents lined up, and I tell them which documents are what landlords look for.
Mhm.
But if they don't have that prepared when we find the property that they want to pull the trigger on, the landlord's not going to wait. They're going to move on to the next person. Same thing with funds. Same thing with funds. Not to sound like a broken record, but since our clients aren't here, they haven't had the ability to open a Spanish bank account. You can't do that from the US. You cannot do it online. You have to be here for 99% of the bank accounts. You have to be here in person to open up a Spanish bank account. So most of our clients are not here. They're not able to open a Spanish bank account. The other thing that I encourage them is to get an online bank account like Wise, for example, and to send over now before we find the property, let's say 6 months worth, because there's always delays transferring money. And again, a landlord's not going to wait. It's going to get impatient and will move on to the next person.
Right. Exactly. Because you're going to need first, last, security, and the month payment to the property manager. So you're going to need
Correct.
4 months, right? Or sometimes
And if you,
five,
if you have a pet, 5.
five. Yep.
And then with purchases, and we've already discussed all the differences in real estate, but if somebody wants to get a mortgage, which only 25% of our clients get a mortgage, but if they do, they have to start the process before they even start looking at properties. Because for those who don't know, in the US, you can get a mortgage pre-approval letter. It's just a piece of paper that says, I'm approved for X, and we can go look at properties. If they identify a property, they can write an offer with the pre-approval letter because the purchase agreement in the US is contingent on financing. Here, it doesn't work that way. Here, if you're going to get a mortgage, you have to get 100% fully approved before you even consider writing any offers. If you don't have your mortgage approval and you find a property and you tell us the seller, well, I'm getting a mortgage and I'm not approved yet, they'll say, come back to us when you're ready. So in other words, they're not going to wait. So if you're going to get a mortgage, start that process at least 60 days ahead of time.
Right. And I'll plug, I have an interview with my mortgage broker that I recommend, and I'll put the interview here and her link below. You can get a mortgage. You're going to put 30 to 40% down, but your interest
Yep.
rate is going to be half of what it is in
Right.
the States. Your insurance, your taxes are going to be negligible
Pennies.
pennies compared to the United States. So you end up spending more upfront to get the property, but you own more of the house and your carrying costs are significantly lower. So it's a very different
Significantly.
calculation.
Yeah.
And so really for people who could pay cash, depending on wwhere your funds are held, it might make sense for you to mortgage part of the property.
Right.
If you have a
Right.
3% mortgage and you're earning
Right.
6%, something to think about. I mean, you do have exchange rate issues and some other things to
Right.
put into play. So it's not that
Yeah.
simple. But anyways, I think that's a good point. And then I will include a link to have an initial consultation with David in the show notes. He is such
Thank
an
you.
amazing resource if you're looking to rent or buy in Valencia. So make sure to reach out to David and he can help you settle into the city. David, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure getting to talk with you. And thanks for sharing all of your knowledge and experience about the city.
Thank you, Vanessa. Thanks for asking me.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. I help people find their place in Spain by connecting them to my carefully vetted network of English speaking professionals. Whether you're looking for a real estate agent or a tax attorney, I can help you build your team of experts. If you'd like to reach out to David to learn more about buying or renting in Valencia, click the link in the description to contact him, and he will help you through the process. Until next time, keep traveling, keep exploring, and keep living the life you dream about.